The Naruto story we've all grown accustomed to is the lonely boy who had nobody, capable of connecting with everybody. This story stands in stark contrast to Boruto's story. In Boruto, the main protagonist is the son of the current Hokage, a superstar in his own right, having everything yet choosing the easy way, coming across as ungrateful for the things he has, though I must say that in some way, it is just a son's way to desire interaction with his father. Boruto and Himawari both experience loneliness in their own way, though nowhere near to the degree that Naruto did. At the end of the day, Boruto and Himawari can still see Naruto. They can at least interact with a part of their father through shadow clones. These days, Boruto is undergoing character growth. Him and Himawari both. However, I can't help but wonder what would happen if they were both living in the same way that Naruto did. Would they be different? Reach different conclusions? Do anything differently at all? That's something I'd like to know. So for now, we're going to travel back in time to see everything transpire from the perspective of twins, who will finally get to understand Naruto's struggles, and maybe put their own into perspective. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. I'm sure by now I don't have to set the scene for you. You've seen it so many times, it's become a running gag in the comments. Indeed, the Amagi will make Obito attack Kushina. But for a moment, let's suppose that instead of one child being born, it's two. A boy with hair as blonde as Minato's and a girl that, well, frankly, looks nothing like either of them. For now, we're not going to bother with how the genetics work. We're just going to do the reincarnation angle, but backwards in time. We're going to assume that both of them retain their most deeply ingrained abilities, which will likely involve Boruto still being possessed by likely a very confused Momoshiki, and Himawari will still have her Byakugan. She won't have Kurama straight out the womb, but that's why I'm making Obito attack them. They gotta seal that beast into one of these babies or it doesn't make sense. And that baby is going to be Himawari. For all intents and purposes, assume everything went exactly the same, only this time there's two babies instead of one, and Kurama is sealed only into Himawari. Boruto's got his own problems to deal with. Adding a hateful fox demon on top of an angry alien would just be too much for him. So now that we've got the nitty-gritty out of the way, let's tell a real story. Boruto and Himawari were raised alone. Hiruzen took a real hands-off approach with them. Why did he do this? Was it because he wanted to protect his name? He couldn't be associated with the Ninetales? Was it to keep Boruto and Himawari out of the spotlight, out of danger? Only Hiruzen knew the reasoning for this. He got them going until they knew how to do things for themselves, and if ever they ran into an issue that they didn't know how to deal with, they could always call Hiruzen, who would send someone over. This unsupervised way of growing up offered Boruto and Himawari the ability to do anything they wanted at any time they wanted, but as you know, such a thing is unhealthy, and naturally a sort of responsibility had to form. Realizing that they were by themselves, Boruto and Himawari began looking out for each other. Neither of them were the other's parent, but they began to act that way, which brought on no small number of strifes between the two when they seemingly overstepped the other's boundaries with their own commands. But despite the many fights that this seemed to cause, the two managed to get along well enough. Being the boy who was certain, despite having no verifiable proof, that he was approximately 12 seconds older than Himawari, he stepped into a big brother role, which meant that he would take responsibility for Himawari. Himawari was smart though and decided to let him. While Boruto did it for prideful purposes, Himawari had enough presence of mind to realize that this meant that he would have to be the adult, which meant that she could focus on enjoying herself. What good was a title if it ruined your fun? She let Boruto bask in his self-proclaimed superiority, knowing that eventually his inflated ego would force his weak legs to collapse. Boruto, at first, would use this new dynamic to leverage Himawari into doing the things that he thought were right. But when he one day saw Himawari being bullied at the academy because her eyes were different, he understood what it really meant to hold the title of Big Brother, and stepped in just enough to defend her. He would be severely beaten by the bullies. Seeing what her brother was experiencing, Himawari would suddenly snap. Her Hyuga instincts were present with her still, which caused her to spontaneously gain the ability to utilize at least a watered-down form of the gentle fist. By no means was it perfect. Born out of pure angry observation, Himawari simply saw all these soft places in the bullies' bodies and decided to poke them really, really hard, unaware what she was doing could potentially kill them. This style of fighting was perfect for her, as it ensured that she needed to not overexert herself, but instead turn the power of her enemies against them. She left those boys twitching in the snow, paralyzed for at least half an hour as she took up Boruto and brought him to the nurse's office to be tended to. Now, of course, I'm certain at least a few of you are wondering how the Hyuga are reacting to this, and that's something I'd like to get into. You see, Himawari, possessing an active Byakugan that can be turned on or off, poses an interesting question to the Hyuga as to where she got these genetics. You see, only those with genetic ties back to the origin of the Byakugan maintain control enough to turn it on or off. No transplant can do this, and so the question is posed, where did Himawari get her genetics? The Hyuga began tirelessly digging into the children's past. After all, if Himawari was a Hyuga and Boruto is her brother, he must in some way be a Hyuga too. But the question is, how? Through their research, they realized that Himawari and Boruto are the children of the 4th Hokage. Maybe that's not much of a secret to the higher-ups, but whether it is or isn't, many in the Hyuga now know, though they are charged by Hiruzen under threat of treason to keep it secret. But then, after knowing this, the mystery of the Byakugan deepens even further. If they're the children of the 4th Hokage, then how in the world did they get Hyuga genetics without Hyuga parents? A theory begins to circulate among the Hyuga of possibility of infidelity by Kushina. That possibly, when she was just freshly pregnant with Boruto, that maybe she had an affair with the Hyuga and somehow ended up pregnant a second time with Himawari, and that when Boruto was born, he just sort of brought a slightly premature Himawari with him. That was the rumor, and it wasn't true, of course, but such is the thoughts that go through people's heads when the truth makes no sense. They try to make it make sense, and because of that, slander on Kushina's name circulates around the Hyuga. Who the true father of Himawari is remains a mystery, and due to how concentrated the Hyuga tend to keep their blood, keeping such affairs in-house to preserve their clan's purity, the chances of ever discovering who she's directly related to becomes very low. Regardless, the Hyuga begins secretly petitioning and fighting for custody of the two children, but Hiruzen refuses it. "These are the children of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki," he said. "Give us the girl," the angry crowd flooding Hiruzen's office demanded. "No," was the simplest answer he could give. "I will not. She does not belong to you. They belong in the custody of the village." Quieting the mobs, Hiyashi steps forward and takes a seat. "Lord Third, please listen," he says. "The truth of Himawari's parentage is obvious in her eyes. It's in her hair. It's in everything about her. She is a Hyuga. We may not be able to pinpoint how, but she is. Her DNA has to be partly connected, at least to our clan." Hiruzen sat there, looking at the wall, at the picture frame of Minato, thinking about Kushina. He refused to think she would do such a thing to Minato. There was no doubt that the children were born of Kushina, but the Byakugan, none of it made sense. Hiyashi then spoke. "If you still don't think they're Hyuga, then let us check their DNA against my own. If it does not come back as Hyuga, then I'll drop this immediately and will never speak of it again." "And if it does come back Hyuga," Hiruzen asked, "what will you do then?" "We will take them into our clan. With all due respect, Lord Third, you may run the village, but the Hyuga have always had an understanding with you. How we govern our own clan is our business, not yours. If these children have Hyuga blood, then it is not for you to forbid us." And so, Hiruzen, for the sake of it, allowed them to draw blood from both children and match it against Hiyashi's. The results had to be run a couple times to make sure they were accurate. However, they did come back. Himawari was 25% Uzumaki, 25% Namikaze, and 50% Hyuga. As for Boruto, he was 4.5% Uzumaki, 4.5% Namikaze, 9% Hyuga, and 82% unknown. The unknown DNA had never been recorded before in Konoha. The genetics made no sense at all. Despite knowing Minato and Kushina were both the true parents, the children couldn't be any more different. Different not only from Minato and Kushina, but from each other as well. Hiruzen had it run by a good different number of doctors, but the results came up the same. "I suppose that settles it," Hiyashi said. Hiruzen, looking at the papers, tossed them down on the desk. "I don't know how it's possible. It's like that DNA showed up out of nowhere. And as for Boruto, we don't even know what he is. Something stinks, and I don't like it," Hiruzen said. "Perhaps so, and we can both continue investigating, but still, we had a deal. The DNA came back. Himawari is predominantly Hyuga, which means she belongs to our clan." Hiruzen looked out toward the village. "I don't like this," he said. Maybe not, but this is a Hyuga matter now. The Hyuga are sovereign. They serve the village, but they are to be respected. We're powerful. I don't think you want to make enemies of us, Lord Third. With all due respect, after the recent loss of the Uchiha, we've picked up the slack, giving up our kinsmen to keep the village alive. The least you can do is give us back our own blood. Hiruzen was silent. Hiyashi continued. Think of it like this. Himawari is living in a broken home, unsupervised. Giving her to us will let her have the chance to have an actual family. I don't think I can take her away from Boruto, Hiruzen said. He's rash, bossy, and sometimes a troublemaker. But even if he won't admit it, he needs Himawari. I can't separate them. Hiyashi spoke. The test said Boruto is 9% Hyuga, right? If so, we'll simply take him as well. The children will stay together. They'll be loved, disciplined, protected, and given a home. That's more than they currently have. We're an upgrade in living situation for them. Further still, we will maintain the secret of Himawari possessing the Nine Tails. She will not learn of it until you deem it necessary. Instead, we'll train her to control her chakra, use her Byakugan, and all of this will come in handy should you ever decide to teach her about her powers. Hiruzen thought about it. I can allow this, I think. If you do as you say. Hiyashi nodded. Of course, Lord Hiruzen. Hiyashi stood, preparing to leave to collect the children. Before he left, though, Hiruzen spoke. I have one condition, though. Hiyashi stopped and looked back. What is it? Without turning, Hiruzen spoke. You're to treat them like main branch members. They are not to be marked. They may have Hyuga DNA, but that's not all they are. I will not tolerate you stamping them and claiming their entire future. Do you understand? They are in your care, and I will recognize you as their family, but they still are and possess official Konoha property which cannot be removed from them. No curse marks, do you understand? If I hear that you have marked them, then you will soon join the ranks of the Uchiha. Hiruzen was obviously bluffing, but Hiyashi went along with it. After all, he had bluffed earlier with a half-baked threat. Considering that Himawari was just one girl and that Boruto didn't even seem to have the ability to manifest a Byakugan, it couldn't be that hard to protect them. I understand and agree to the terms, Hiyashi said. Boruto and Himawari were at home, complaining about the random checkup Hiruzen had them go through. But not much longer after this, they had a knock at the door. Opening it up, Boruto spoke. You better not be back here trying to prick us again. It was then that he noticed who was there. It wasn't Hiruzen, but some strange guy with the same eyes that Himawari had suddenly developed. Boruto was a little put off by this, as you might understand. Taking a few steps back, his hands pulled up defensively. Hiyashi recognized that his height and two guardsmen might be a little scary, so he knelt down and offered the kindest face he could. Good afternoon, Boruto. My name is Hiyashi Hyuga, and I'm a close friend of the third Hokage, Hiruzen. May I come in? Depends, Boruto said. Depends on what? Hiyashi asked. Boruto took a moment to think. I don't know. Hiyashi offered a small laugh. It's okay, Boruto. We're not here to hurt you, I promise. It's a good thing, actually. Great news. Boruto, despite his fear, decided to trust this man. Turning back to the inner apartment, Hiyashi stepped through the door, instructing his men to stand guard outside. Closing the door behind him, he stepped into the apartment. Hima, we got a visitor, Boruto said. Hiyashi walked through to see a little girl sitting on the couch, brushing a doll's hair perhaps a little too forcefully. It brought a smile to his face as it reminded him of his own little girls. Hiyashi stepped in. She kept her head down. Boruto spoke. Hima, aren't you even going to look up at our guest? Huh? I am, she said without moving her head. Oh yeah, I forgot you can see everything now, I guess. Boruto turned back. What did you say your name was again? Hiyashi smiled and reintroduced himself. I am Hiyashi, and you two are Boruto and Himawari. Boruto walked over and sat down on the couch. Hiyashi drew closer and sat down beside them. So what did you come here for anyway? Boruto asked. Hiyashi noticed that the two were still wearing band-aids over their arms. Do you remember when Lord Hiruzen had the doctor take some of your blood? Boruto nodded. Hiyashi raised his sleeve to show a band-aid too. Of course, he didn't still need one, but he wore it anyway to make a point. He checked your DNA against mine, and he discovered that you two have Hyuga blood. What does that mean? Boruto asked. Hiyashi placed his hand on Boruto's shoulder. It means we're family. At this, Boruto and Himawari both looked up with confusion. Family? Himawari asked. Hiyashi nodded. Yes, you both are at least part Hyuga, and that's the same clan I'm from. And because of that, I convinced Hiruzen to turn you over to our clan. In other words, you're officially adopted into a real family. Himawari covered her mouth in surprise. Really? Boruto parroted Himawari's words, but with a fair bit more skepticism. Really? He said, raising a brow. Hiyashi nodded again. Yes, really. You two are a part of the Hyuga clan, even if somewhat distantly. And so our clan has decided to take you in and give you a home. I will foster you, if you'll come, of course. Himawari was crawling over Boruto just to get to Hiyashi's arms, surprising them both. Hugging him tight with a bright smile, eyes moistened from emotion, she spoke. Yes, please! Please take us with you, please! Hiyashi laughed as he pulled her up into his embrace. And what about you, Boruto? Family awaits. Wanna go? Boruto thought about it for a moment. He didn't entirely trust this guy, but he didn't sense any malice. All the same, he spoke. I want to ask Old Man Hiruzen first. If this is really official, then you won't mind, will you? Hiruzen shook his head. Go right ahead. And so Boruto stood up and walked to the telephone, not taking his eye off of Hiyashi. Calling up Hiruzen, he was told that everything Hiyashi said was true. See, I told you, Hiyashi said. So, wanna come with me? Boruto honestly wasn't sure. He didn't know this guy well, and while Himawari might have been desperate for any semblance of family, Boruto knew that all he needed was Himawari. But even still, he couldn't take away something important from her, and if she wanted it, then he'd go along with it. Sure, I guess, he said. Taking Boruto's hand in his own, he began to walk out of the apartment with them, getting them their shoes and stepping outside. Making his way back to the Hyuga clan's own compound, they passed by the other homes of the Hyuga clansmen, some doing work, very few noticing them. Those that did smiled and waved. Boruto seemed to be taking it all in, while Himawari was just enjoying being carried around. It was only when they got closer to the home of Hiyashi that people really began to come out of the woodwork. Many of the people who had petitioned to have Himawari here were pleased that she was, and Boruto got to be the bonus. It felt nice to be welcomed, wanted. Considering that Himawari was often bullied for apparently no reason, it made Boruto happy to know that she was getting the attention she deserved. And if he was getting some too, well, that couldn't hurt much, right? Hiyashi calmed the people down. We'll speak more about our new additions later. For now, let's get them settled in and calmed down. It's certainly a big change for them, so we want them to be comfortable. I'll address you all soon. Taking them inside, he sat them down. I'm going to make arrangements for your living quarters. For now, feel free to go explore the house. I think my daughter Hinata might be around here somewhere. She's a little shy, so don't be offended if she doesn't come out to meet you immediately. Letting the children go, Hiyashi walked off to prepare their room. Taking Himawari's hand, Boruto prepared to lead her around. Wow, he's so nice, she said with a wide grin. Yeah, I guess. You don't like him? Himawari asked. Well, I mean he's nice, but I can't help but feel like it's a facade. Like he's hiding something. You're probably just paranoid, big brother, Himawari said. Boruto shrugged. Maybe. As they moved through the home, they eventually stopped when they found a girl practicing her gentle fist techniques. Boruto cleared his throat. Excuse me, are you Hinata? He asked. The girl looked back. The moment the three of them made eye contact, something strange lighted in them all. Hinata, normally reserved and shy, lit up with a big smile, running over to hug them. Wow, Boruto said. Your dad said you were shy. Don't be rude, big brother. I'm glad she's happy. Well, me too, but... Hinata pulled back. It's so strange. It feels like I've known you for such a long time, even if we're only now just meeting. Looking them over with a smile, Hinata spoke again. You must be Boruto. Wow, you're as handsome as my dad said you were. Boruto blushed at the compliment. Well, I guess I just got good genes. Hinata then looked to Himawari. And look how beautiful you are, she said with a squeal. And your Byakugan are so clear, like gorgeous pearls. Himawari blushed and covered her face. Your eyes are pretty too. Very white, Himawari said. Hinata smiled, then took their hands. When Dad said he was bringing home 2 new kids, I was super nervous. But now that you're here, it's almost like things are even more normal than before. I'm glad you're here with us. I want to be best friends. Hiyashi then returned. The guest room has been set up with 2 futons. We'll soon begin moving your things in, and we'll turn that bedroom into your own personal space. He then noticed how closely Hinata was holding the 2. Wow, Hinata, I had no idea you could be so excitable. I'm glad you've shown our new cousins such a warm welcome, but how about we show them to their rooms so they can rest? I'm sure the changes are quite tiresome for them. Hinata nodded. Of course. And so the 2 Hyuga escorted Himawari and Boruto to the bedroom that would be theirs. Stepping in, Hiyashi spoke. This is where you'll sleep. The bathroom is just down the hall, the first door you see. The dining room and kitchen are just past the courtyard alongside the porch. If you need me, I'll never be far. Now, let's go, Hinata. Hiyashi led his daughter out, closing the door afterward. Boruto and Himawari were left alone in the room. "This is a really big change," Boruto said. "Yep," Himawari said, as a matter of fact that apparently didn't bother her much. "I didn't expect it. Waking up this morning, I had no idea that we'd all be moving away from our home to here. It's a lot." Himawari nodded. "It sure is." Boruto sat up in bed. "You act like none of this bothers you. Do you not feel nervous or upset at all?" Himawari thought about it. "I guess I'm a little nervous. It'll take time for this new house to feel like home, but so long as we have family, that's all that matters." "You really accepted that Hiyashi guy quickly. How do you know he's a good guy?" Boruto asked. "Well, I don't see why else he'd adopt us." "That's the point. Why would he want us so badly? There's gotta be a reason. Who just finds a couple kids who seem to be fine and says, 'Yup, you're mine'? Something doesn't seem right." "I think you're being too suspicious, Boruto. Sometimes good things just happen. And when they do, instead of wondering how or why, just accept it as a gift with a smile on your face." Boruto knew Himawari had a good point, but at the same time, how could he just accept this? Nobody ever did anything good for them. Most people tried to hurt them. Himawari tended to always be the center of attention for that, so Boruto had begun to think that maybe she might, look at this and think something fishy was going on, but instead she was pleased. She didn't care about anything that was going on. She just accepted it like a part of life she always expected. Maybe she was just desperate for love, acceptance, and attention, and those were the things that Hiyashi promised her. And for that very reason, Boruto couldn't be trusting. Not when he wondered when ground floor would hit. There was no way this could be as good as it sounded. It was too good to be true. A near flawless family led by a man of near equality with that. The Hyuga were squeaky clean and appeared like the almost perfect commune of brothers, sisters, cousins, and distant relatives that one could find. And it was because they were too perfect that Boruto began to wonder where the darkness was hiding. Everyone had a skeleton in their closet somewhere, and if that darkness was proportionate to this, he knew that the darkness would have to be well hidden, else the illusion would break, and the Hyuga wouldn't be anything like they made themselves out to be. As they talked more about it, suddenly the door gently slid open, and a face appeared in the crack that was made. It was Hinata. "Hello," she said with a smile, greeting them. Himawari's eyes lit up when she saw her. "Come inside," she said. Hinata pushed the door further open, stepped inside, and closed it behind her. Sitting down with Himawari on her futon, Hinata displayed a doll of her own in her hands. "I thought maybe your doll could use a friend. Would you like to hold on to this one for me?" Hinata asked. Himawari's eyes widened. "Wow, she's so pretty!" Taking the doll Hinata offered, Himawari began to comb through its hair. "Her hair is so soft. How did you get all the tangles out?" "Well, when I comb, I do so slowly and patiently. If you try to force it, the knots will only tighten, making it harder to get them out. You gotta go slowly with the comb and your fingers." Himawari began to understand and began doing it herself. Every inch of her face was painted with excitement. This made Boruto smile, but it also made him worry. The happier Himawari was, the more destroyed she would be when it all turned out to be a scam. Hinata turned to look at Boruto. "I'm sorry I couldn't bring anything for you. I didn't think you'd like to play with any of my toys. They're all girl toys, and I think boys like different things." Boruto waved it off. "Don't worry about it," he said. "I'm just glad that you're spending time with Himawari. She needs a girl her age to relate to. There's only so many people that will relate to her." "You need someone to relate to too," Hinata said. "I know someone you might enjoy hanging around. He stops by every day or so. Maybe when he comes tomorrow you can meet him." "Who is it?" Boruto asked. "His name is Neji. He's my cousin and, well, I guess he's your cousin now too," she said with a giggle. "Maybe you and him will get along. Your names are already so similar. A screw and a bolt being friends. It's perfect." "Just waiting for Cousin Nail to show up somewhere," Boruto joked. Hinata offered a giggle. Turning back, she began to play with Himawari. After supper and a quick bath, everyone turned in for the night. Hiyashi had promised that all of their toys, clothes, and beds, and everything else they had would soon be brought the next morning. As he lay there in bed, staring up at the ceiling, Boruto couldn't help but think about the situation they were in, a slight bit of worry ever present in his heart. Finding sleep eventually, he stayed in bed until the rising of the sun. Taking another bite of his apple, Boruto looked back when Hinata called him. He saw a boy with long brown hair and a stern expression standing there. Standing up, he walked over. "Neji, this is Boruto," Hinata said. Boruto extended his hand to Neji. "Pleasure to meet you." Neji looked at his hand for an awkward amount of time before eventually quickly gripping it and letting it go. "These are our new cousins," Hinata said. Neji looked at Himawari. "This one I can believe." Pointing at Boruto with his thumb, Neji continued. "This one, not so much." Hinata then spoke. "Well, the two of them have provably Hyuga DNA, so father said we should take them in." Neji looked at Boruto for a second before looking back at Hinata. Your attitude is very different. I can't explain it either. I'm just really comfortable around these two. I see, Neji said. By the way, Neji, since they're new, I was thinking we should spend the day getting them warmed up to us. Maybe since you're a boy too, you can show Boruto around. I'll show Himawari. Does that sound good? Neji let out a sigh. Yeah, it sounds fine. Neji began to walk away, waving his hand to tell Boruto to follow him. Boruto began to follow Neji out of the building. Hey, wait up! As they walked down the streets, Neji seemed to move between two buildings. Hey, where are we going? Boruto asked, looking around. Suddenly, he was grabbed by the collar and thrown into the nearby trash cans. What have you done to Lady Hinata? Neji asked. I don't know what you're talking about. Neji cut Boruto off. You and your sister show up here out of the blue, and suddenly Hinata's not acting like her normal timid self, giving me orders like a boss, not even slightly distrustful of you. I sense treachery in the main branch house, and you better pray I don't think it's you, or you'll never eat solid foods again, Neji said. Boruto pushed Neji's finger away. I don't know what you think is going on here, but I'm just as suspicious of you and your whole perfect little family as you are of me. I was just living at home, playing video games with my sister, and all of a sudden your uncle comes in declaring us adopted when Himawari and I don't even know him from Adam? And you expect I'm just gonna be fine with that? Who the hell even are you people? Boruto asked. So you're clueless to this too, huh? Boruto began to stand and dust himself off. You're damn right we are. I don't know who that Hinata girl really is or what she was before, but this is just the side she's shown us since we arrived. I don't trust it. I don't trust any of it. They seem too perfect, like a flawless family. But I just know there's darkness somewhere here. I've never seen a family as squeaky clean as this. That darkness must be big and festering, hidden in some deep dark hole that nobody can see, because this makes no sense, Boruto said. Neji began to smile a bit as he stood up to meet Boruto. Well, you're right about something. There is a darkness in this family, but it's not as well hidden as it may seem. Neji then removed his head wrappings to display his curse mark. What's that? Boruto asked. Think of it like an electric collar. If I wander too far, bite someone, or otherwise do anything that becomes a burden for the clan, zap, I get toasted. Why do you have something like that? Boruto asked. The better question is why you don't, Neji said. You're obviously not main branch, unless you're some illegitimate child, but even then there's no guarantee that you wouldn't end up like my father. Boruto was obviously confused. Neji began to explain. You really don't know, do you? Every member of the Hyuga clan who aren't members of the main branch are branded with this mark that seals our eyes upon death and fries our brains if we disobey. We're essentially slaves to the main branch. Everyone? Neji nodded. Every single Hyuga. You wanted your skeletons, your darkness? Well, here it is. The reason why we seem perfect is because we're all just puppets for the main branch. Boruto was shocked. I knew something was wrong. It was all just a scam. But why would they want us? Boruto asked. Neji then smiled. Do you happen to know why everyone hates your sister? And that's where I'm gonna call it for now. I'd planned to let Boruto and Himawari walk the same path as Naruto, but the longer I let them walk it, the more I realized that the story wanted to veer in its own direction. So I began to think what would be best for the story, and eventually decided that what it needed was to go with the flow, and the flow dictated that the Hyuga clan would fight for custody of the children, mostly Himawari. I hope the story was to your liking. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a comment below and tell us about it. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when those videos come out. And while you're waiting, here's a couple other videos from our channel. Hopefully they tide you over until the next video drops. Anyway, until next time,